Hello everybody, this is Ravi. In this video I wanted to do something slightly different, and I wanted to share with you some of the gorgeous treasures that I found in the past few weeks and months while traveling and visiting various antique and flea markets, and specifically I went to a French Brocante in France, and I also went to an Italian flea market, and also visited a little market in Amsterdam when I was out in the Netherlands teaching. So I got to travel quite a bit for workshops, and so when I was traveling I kind of got some of this lovely treasures, and I wanted to share some with you. I'm going to go through them and just kind of break them down into the kind of categories of things that I like to look for when I'm traveling, but really it is about what catches my eye and what I see potential in and what I see beauty in. So one of my favourite things to collect and use are books. I especially love when I get to travel to places where there's different alphabets, and so in this case I have Italian and French books, which are really great because I live in the UK where the main language is obviously English. So if I can get my hands on French books, that's lovely. I love that, and so I got a few. I also chose some that had beautiful illustrations. I have many books, so I kind of limited myself. Also, they're quite heavy in a suitcase, so I chose books that I liked for some reason. In this case it was the tables, there's illustrations that I really loved, and this is an Italian book about herbs, and I also really liked the cover of this book. Sometimes it's really about the cover that I use as a substrate for collage, and I also really like the aging of these pages. So these are just normal books. I was really drawn to these tables, and I really like the size as well. I can imagine incorporating these pages into other books like journals, as well as using pieces of them for collage. I've got a couple more. These are French books. They're really beautiful. They feel really nice. They're like cotton paper. It's very soft, and specifically this one is just so lovely. You can cut it with a butter knife, and it's just really velvety, which I liked. And this is an Italian book. I love the cover and the aging as well, and I could use this for collage. And finally this is a notebook, and the writing here is just exquisite. And these kind of books or ledgers I tend to keep, because initially I don't want to use them, and then eventually after a while I can let go and use parts of them in my collage. And I also found this incredible ledger. This is like velvet. I love how the cover wraps around like this, and the pages are just really gorgeous. It's a really beautiful format as well, and yeah, just the writing, all the aging, and how soft it is, and it's long and thin and it wraps around. It's just really beautiful. I also found this ring binder that I thought was really lovely. I really like this pattern. This is probably vintage, but the foxing inside was also really nice. So yeah, I thought I would buy it. I think it was €1, and I can imagine storing things in here. It's just a little bit more on brand for me. Next thing that I like to look for are more traditional vintage ephemera pieces, so vintage photos. I have a huge collection. It's one of my favourite things to use in my collage, so any opportunity I have to buy black and white photos, I go for it. And got some really nice ones and some larger ones as well in this flea market in Italy. So Got this too, and some larger prints. I also found some vintage just blank and empty envelopes. These are via airmail, and these are actual vintage envelopes, so they're lovely because they're new and I can use them. I found this giant map of Italy, and I don't know, I think I might just keep it for now and perhaps frame it one day. Italy is the country where I was born, and this used to be 20 lire. This is a book cover and another photo. I also bought just a few photos that were framed, and there's something that I really love about old frames, and very often it is the back. This paper is just so lovely, and all the rusting and the rips and the aging, and I obviously love the photo and how aged it is. I also like the frame that is actually falling apart, but really the back is what attracts me, and I have made a whole series of work using the back of frames. Similarly, this frame, it wasn't so much about the postcard at the front, it was about the back for me, and using it to make work inside the frame on the reverse. And also this photo I really loved. And sometimes I've not gone through that. Sometimes when you go through photos that have been framed, sometimes you find a little surprise inside, like another photo that had been covered or even written messages, and that's happened to me more than once, and I always love when that happens. And I also found this little chalkboard which I thought was really cute, and it might again become a kind of substrate for a collage. Another thing that I really like are boxes, vintage boxes, tin boxes. I have a ton of them, so I don't tend to buy a lot of them anymore because I have quite a few. I also found this tombola numbers, and I love that some were actually added, and these are pieces of cork and they have the number written on them. So yeah, I really like that touch. These were obviously used by an Italian family, maybe usually at Christmas, and I put it inside this tin. Found this lovely box. There's an illustration on the front. It's been heavily coloured, and then inside are all these styles that would have been used on that chalkboard, for instance. And I also love this paper around here. These were made in Portugal, as it says. This is just a lid. I just was drawn to it, and it's just the patina, the ripped edges, and I can imagine using this in an assemblage as well. Had some stock cubes here. These were just, I love how the paper was ripped, and I've already used a couple in a piece and kept these others, and I just love the imperfection of the paper. This is just a piece of a box, and I can imagine putting a couple of objects or collages in there. And this is one glove. I have used the other one in a book. And finally, this little jewelry box. Got a few more photos in there. It's just, the aging is lovely, and these are some carte de visite that I chose. I also picked up a few objects, just things that I kind of saw a little bit of potential in. Found this lovely stencils. They are very thin, quite soft, but some of them have obviously been used, and I really love the marks of the paint. So yeah, I can imagine using them as stencils, actual writing with them, as well as putting images underneath and using them in collage. So these are lovely. They were, I think it was €3 maybe. Found these measuring tapes that I thought were really nice, really nicely aged, and I can cut pieces of them for assemblage pieces. They are sort of slightly different shades of white and yellow, and then a smaller one made of metal, partly rusty, and I also really love that. Again, I have plenty of keys, so I limited myself to a couple of keys and they go really well in any collage piece, really. This little angel, I thought it might actually stay in my studio. We'll see. Or it might be incorporated into something else. A little dish that I have used before. It makes a lovely frame for a collage, and it's got all the aging already there. Similarly, this is like just a piece of metal that's rusty, and I think this was maybe used as a scraper because it was in a toolbox. And again, I could potentially collage on this. Here's an old brush, and I have another one of them, and I made a piece of work with that. So I'm going to maybe make a twin one with this one. I'm not sure what this is. If anybody knows, please leave it in the comment, because I have no idea, but I loved the detail, and the woodworm has been in there quite a bit. But I can imagine this being incorporated into an assemblage. I'm not sure. Couple of doll heads, love them. And this one is actually quite large, and this is smaller. I could potentially turn this into a little planter, put a plant in here, or just use it in a piece of work. And finally, this is, not sure, was like a little box. I just loved the detail. This is probably vintage. I'm not sure what it was used for, and this, I just put it in there because it fit perfectly. But I also found this maybe curtain rings. I'm not sure what they are. They're lovely rings made of wood that, again, I thought could frame photos beautifully. And yeah, they all look great and aged. And finally, some slightly larger pieces. This is I think is a magazine container, and it's lovely, just velvety, very aged. The detailing is just really beautiful, and it's got a little cord here, and this helped me carry a lot of these goodies back home, and I just absolutely love this print. I also found this board. Again, if anybody knows what this was used for, please let me know. I thought it could maybe be a game or used to store medals or something. I'm not entirely sure. It looks pretty handmade. It's got this piece of fabric wrapped around it and held in place by rusty nails. And again, I thought this might be nice to frame photos or put little objects in there, almost like a printer's tray kind of object. I also found this lovely print. This was sold for about €2, which I thought was ridiculous, so I bought that. It's actually on a board, so it's very lightweight, and I just love it. I love the aging around the edge. I just love the print itself, and I can imagine collaging with this or onto it, really, or even adding 3D elements to this. But for now, it's just going to be as it is. Found this lovely large album. This is just graph paper, but I love the size. This can be used for wrapping things as well, and I just love it. I think it was a nice find. It's got Italian writing on the back, and sometimes I'm looking for a vintage paper that is large for bigger pieces, and so this is a great piece of paper because it's pretty big. And finally, my favorite find. This is really large. This is my hand. And this, because it was kind of broken, this was sold for €1, which I can believe. So this will be hanging in my studio for now, and then potentially become something else. And the back has got lovely details as well. All the rusty nail. There's some newspaper and foxing, and I'm just obsessed with this find. And put this in my suitcase, and I was very happy to come back home and find it, the glass had not broken, so very grateful for that. And again, €1, which was just incredible. So this is just the collection of things that I found in shops and markets. I have a whole box of nature finds, which I will not show you in this video, so maybe I'll do a different video for that. But I've already started using them to make smaller objects with nature finds. So I just wanted to show you some of the things that really attract me and why, and potentially how I might use them in future work. And this was a lot of objects, but really I did not spend very much money at all. You know, especially when you combine multiple items, you tend to get better value. So sellers that don't price things individually might give you a much better deal when you have multiple objects. So yeah, just wanted to show you some of the things that I found, and I'm curious to know if there's anything that you look for when you're traveling or when you go to antique shops and markets, and what draws you in, what attracts your curiosity. Let me know. Bye now.